Hello and welcome to another Vlogmas. As you can see, it's 20 to 6, it's a little bit late in the day and I am now about to do some meal prepping. So I'm going to make some vegetable stew with dumplings, which will be good because I can put some of it in the freezer and eat it closer to Christmas, and there's a lot of busy things coming up, so it's good to have all that food prepped. And then I'm also going to be making frangipane mince pies and normal mince pies. The plan is to make a lot of mince pies today so that I can put some in the freezer and eat them closer to Christmas. But yeah, here is the recipe for the hearty vegetable stew. I'm not going to be 100% following it because I don't have any sweet potatoes, and I've got a lot of other potatoes to use. I want to add in parsnips. But yeah, that's the basic recipe. And then for the frangipane mince pies, I think I've done this recipe before, but I do really like frangipane mince pies. It is from this book by Freya Cox, and I'm going to be doing this recipe. And then I'm going to be doing a normal mince pie recipe using this Vegan Bakes book by Holly Jade. And yeah, so I've got a very large jar of mince meat. So I'm going to start off by doing these ones, and then if I've got too much pastry and frangipane, I can just do bakewell tarts with a little layer of jam. It was very optimistic of me to think I would get through all this mince meat in the jar. I still ended up with loads of it left over, which I'll show you right at the end. But anyway, here I am. I decided to use the inside bits of the celery just because it's got the leaves, and like I'm not really going to eat the leaves as a sort of like raw snack, whereas I could eat the celery as like celery sticks. So it's just melting a little bit of margarine and then chopping up the celery into little bits. So this is kind of like an onion replacement, I suppose, because I am a little bit intolerant to onions. And then also peeling carrots and cutting those up into little bits. And then I think I did 3 potatoes, but like this kind of like depends on how many potatoes you have and what you need using up, and like the size of the potatoes. It just depends on your preferences really. Putting all that in after, so the celery and the butter were cooking by themselves before I'm adding in the other vegetables now. And then I really like this crock pot. It's got like a decent lid and everything, so I was just putting in a bit of thyme to give it a flavour, stirring it around a bit to cover, and then putting the lid on. Then I've got this vegetable stock which I bought from, I think it's from Sainsbury's, I don't know, but you can use any vegetable stock you want, and then just mixing it up with some boiling water. And I also decided to add some of this Bisto gravy granules because I'm pretty sure that's going to go out of date in the next few months. I just never really get around to eating gravy, and that's quite a large amount of gravy. And then rinsing off the kidney beans, adding in the stock, and then leaving that. I didn't actually put the kidney beans into a bit later. I actually moved on to the first mince pies, and this was like the normal recipe, but it wasn't normal. It had like a lot of coconut oil in it. I think it was 80 grams of coconut oil, and then it was 4 tablespoons of syrup. So you had to melt the coconut oil in the microwave, and then you add the syrup in before adding the flour. And then mixing it all together. It was quite like difficult to mix, so I added in quite a bit of water. And then put it in the fridge as a ball just to cool a bit while I moved on to the other pastry for the frangipane mince pies. So I'm using stalk margarine for this one, 100 grams of that. I think this was 30 grams of icing sugar. If you do want the exact recipe, I can try and look for that online, or I can just put the ingredients in the description if someone requests that. But yeah, it's plain flour, then adding in half a teaspoon of salt, and then I mixed all that together, kneaded it into a ball and put it in the fridge. I am now moving on to making the frangipane. So I've got margarine, caster sugar, almond extract, and then I think this is baking powder. So you mix the first 3 ingredients in the microwave and like melt them together before you add in the other like dry ingredients such as the ground almonds. I just really like frangipane. I made bakewell tarts quite recently and I've eaten all of those, and they're good because you can freeze them and then like have a homemade thing. Anyway, so here I am coming back to the stew, which has been bubbling away, and I'm adding in the kidney beans. I think I actually took it off the heat at this point and just let it settle while I moved on to making the dumplings. So yeah, this is quite a lot of multitasking, I suppose, but that's how I like to cook, because if I'm switching the oven on, I might as well cook a few things at the same time, because I like trying to save electricity and everything. So yeah, the dumplings, you like mix them with a fork, and then you mix them with your hands a bit, and then I rolled it into 8 balls. The packet says 6 balls, but then I wanted to do this over 4 meals. And then here I am taking the pastry out of the fridge and rolling it out. So this is the Bakewell pastry, and yeah, it's easy to roll, unlike the coconut. So I'm now going to switch on the oven and put the dumplings into the stew that can cook in the oven. And then I'm going to put the pastry in. I'm finding it a bit difficult with this coconut oil pastry. Apparently you need to put like a blob in each case and then push it around the side. So I'm trying to do that. You can't freeze the dough balls, so I will eat 4 portions, and then hopefully there'll be 1 or 2 portions of this vegetable stew that I can freeze as well. That'll be handy. Yeah, so this is going in the oven for maybe half an hour, but I will keep an eye on it. Looks tasty. So now I'm trying to roll out the coconut oil pastry so I can cut little shapes, stabbing a fork into the base of the mince pie cases and then putting everything into the oven to start cooking. I can't even remember what temperature. I don't really pay attention to temperatures, to be honest. Probably around 180 degrees for everything. So not too hot for anything and not too cold for anything. Seemed to work okay. And then after the mince pie cases had been in the oven for a while, I put some mince pie filling in. So I'm putting about a teaspoon in, but then because I have a lot of sort of mixed peel, sliced mixed peel to use up, I decided to sprinkle that on top and kind of mix it in a bit. Just because I bought this about a couple of years ago and like I don't know where else to use it. So I just thought, because sometimes the mince pie filling can be a little bit runny, so I thought I could add in some extra fruit. And then here's the frangipane topping, which goes in as well before it goes back in the oven. And I'm just spreading that out with my fingers and then sprinkling flaked almonds on top, just I suppose for a bit of an extra crunch. Here I am filling the coconut ones, so they're not as neat, I suppose, but putting in the mince pie filling, and then I top them with the little shapes that I cut out earlier. Skip forwards about half an hour, and here are all 17 mince pies out of the oven, and as you can see I've got way too much. I've got a lot more mince pie filling left, so I'm going to have to make mince pies again, which is a bit annoying. And then here is my stew ready to eat. So at this stage it was already well after 8 o'clock. I think it's like 8:30 by the time I actually sat down and ate dinner. I ended up eating 2 bowls of the stew because like it is just mostly vegetables anyway, and I was getting a bit hungry, so yeah. Sitting on the sofa, watching a bit of YouTube and eating my vegetable stew. I do actually like this recipe, I made it once last year. So yeah, thank you for watching. I'm doing more Vlogmas videos this year, so if you want to watch, subscribe and come back for more.